Hey BookTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I am doing the TBR tag. I've seen quite a few booktubers do this and it looks really fun, so I just thought I would go ahead and do it. Question number 1, how do you keep track of your TBR pile? And this one is a little complicated. The majority of my TBR list is actually on Amazon. I started doing that with children's books, and then I started just keeping track of books that I wanted to not forget about on Amazon, and I have the lists all organized and stuff, and it just kind of has snowballed since then. And someday I may switch it over to Goodreads, but it just would take a lot of work to do that because of how many books I have on Amazon saved already, and so for now it's on Amazon, which is, I know, kind of weird. I also, if I end up buying a book, like from a secondhand store or just off of Amazon or something, then it automatically goes on the top of my TBR list. And I also have a bunch of ebooks that are on my TBR list that I haven't read yet, just already on my phone that I own. Number 2, is your TBR mostly print or ebook? It is mostly ebook. I recently read all the books that I owned and have since then kept fairly on top of reading most of the books that I buy as I buy them, and so my physical TBR pile isn't very big, but I do have a very large ebook TBR pile, and then of course my list, which is digital, of books that I haven't bought yet. Question number 3, how do you determine from your TBR list which book to read next? This one's also a kind of a complicated question, right? Because it's not always the same thing. You're not always like, oh, I'll pick this one next and this one. So I'm usually reading 4 books at a time. I'm usually listening to a book with my husband, and those are fairly easy to pick out because we pick one that we both would enjoy, such as the newest Brandon Sanderson book, or a book that's similar to Brandon Sanderson, a fantasy. That's usually what we pick. Then I usually have a book by my nightstand, and those are usually pretty easy to pick as well because I usually do classics or a non-fiction book that is hard to get through, so I want to do it a little bit at a time. Right now I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo, and it's taking me forever because it's a huge book, but I just read it a little bit before bed every night. And next, I already know which one I'm going to do next, which is Uncle Tom's Cabin, because I already have that. And so just any classics that I haven't read yet, I just kind of put in line to read before bed. Then I have 2 other just for fun books that I'm usually reading, one on my phone and one during the day, and these can be any genre, usually not classics unless it's a classic that's a really fast read. And those books are usually the ones that are the hardest to choose which one is next. Sometimes I have a list of the books that I most want to read this year, so I'll sometimes pull from those. I am trying right now to only read ebooks that I already own on my phone and try and whittle that list down before buying new ebooks to read on my phone. So right now it's pretty easy to choose that one. But yeah, it's basically just whatever I feel like, or if there's a genre that I feel like I really want to read, or a book that I've really been wanting to get to and I'm like, oh, I finished a hardcopy book, I can pick up another one, or oh, I finished an ebook, I can pick up another one, then I'll do that. And every once in a while I'll be listening to a book on my own as well, but that doesn't usually happen. Question number 4, which book has been on your TBR list the longest? And honestly, I have no idea. I'm sure it's some sort of classic like The Count of Monte Cristo or Uncle Tom's Cabin, something like that, because there are so many classics that I want to read, but classics take so long for me to get through that generally they stay on my TBR list for a very long time. And there are also a lot of those books are also books that I had heard about in high school, which is probably why they've been on my TBR the longest. Question number 5, a book that you recently added to your TBR list. For this one, I would say The Wrath and the Dawn. This is one that I've heard about before on BookTube, but I very recently put it on my to be read soon TBR list. Like moved it up to read it soon. Question number 6, a book that is on your TBR strictly because of its beautiful cover. I chose A Treasury of Irish Fairy and Folk Tales. This was a gift to me, and I think the cover is just beautiful. I don't know that I would have actually picked it up myself otherwise, but I do want to read it, and I do have it on my TBR list for eventually, but only because of the cover, basically. Question number 7, a book on your TBR list that you never plan on reading. And I don't think I have one. I periodically go through my TBR list and weed out ones that I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to read that, or I'll start reading a book that I own and I'm like, I'm not going to read this, so then I donate it and get rid of it, so it's not on my TBR list, because my TBR list is big and I want it to be big because that means I have a lot of books to read, but I don't want it to be overwhelming, and I definitely don't want to have books on there that I'm never going to read, because what's the point in that? Question number 8, an unpublished book that is on your TBR list that you're really excited for. And I actually have 2 for this. Next month, or I guess this month, because when I upload the video in March, The Read Aloud Family by Sarah Mackenzie is coming out, and that is one that I have been waiting for. I'm really excited to read that book. And then I'm also really excited for Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I believe that's the next book that is going to be published. I think in September maybe it will be published. I don't know. I know he's finished it. It was his secret project before and he's finally finished it. It's a science fiction book and I am really excited to read it because I love all things Brandon Sanderson. Question 9. A book on your TBR list that everybody has read except for you. For this one I chose The Six of Crows duology. I swear everybody on BookTube has read this book and I haven't, and it's on my TBR list this year. And I really, really want to read it and I think I'll really like it. I just have not gotten to it yet and everybody else has, so. A book on your TBR list that everybody recommends to you. This one I'm not sure. I feel like a lot of the answers that I've used before, like The Wrath and the Dawn and The Six of Crows, everybody recommends those books. And if I ever comment like, oh, I want to read those books, they're like, yes, you should read them, they're so good. So I guess just there's a lot of books on my TBR list that everybody would recommend to me. Question 11. A book on your TBR list that you are dying to read. And this one is very, very hard for me because I feel like there are so many books that I really, really want to read, so trying to pick one that I'm just like absolutely dying to read is very hard. I'm actually going to say the last 2 books in the series of Unfortunate Events. I can't believe that I haven't finished this series and I actually really want to know how it ends because I've got really invested. I read the first 11 books and then I never read the last 2, and so that's one that I really, really do want to read. And the last question, number 12, how many books are on your TBR shelf? And honestly, I have no idea. Thousands and thousands. I tried looking on Amazon, but I couldn't figure out a way to see it. If I ever switch it over to Goodreads, then I'll be able to see there. And maybe I should put that on my to-do list because it would probably be better than my Amazon system that I have going on that is utterly ridiculous. But yeah, there's just so many books out there and I feel like I read as fast as I possibly can and I put as much time as I can into reading, and I feel like I read a lot. I usually read, I would say an average would be 10 books a month, and that's a lot of books to read. I feel like especially compared to a lot of people, because I feel like as a stay-at-home mom I'm able to find time to read a lot more than if I were working full-time, etc. And so I read a lot, but I still can't keep up with my TBR list. I watch BookTube and every single video I watch I'm like, man, that book sounds so interesting. Oh, I want to read that book. And then I'm adding books to my TBR list and it will never get smaller because I can never read that fast. There are too many books in the world, which is a good thing because that means we will never run out of books to read, for which I am very grateful. Thanks for watching my TBR tag. I'm actually going to tag somebody this time. I've never actually tagged somebody when I've done a tag video before, but I'm actually going to tag Melissa at White Castles with Books. She's a fairly new booktuber and she is super, super cute. She has a little trailer that she's fixed up really nice for her videos to make it look like a little castle, and they're traveling with her family right now while her husband's working, and so she's reached out to BookTube for a BookTube community, and she and I read a lot of similar books, but she's super, super cute. Her videos are super great, so if you want to go check her out, and maybe she'll do the TBR tag too, and then you could go watch that video. Anyways, thanks for watching my tag video. I will see you in the next one.